Let's go to Mel in Fort Worth. What's up, Mel?
Hey, Dr. John, how are you?
Partying. I'm not partying. I'm at work. I'm not. I don't know why I say that all the time. I'm doing great. How about you?
We're doing really good. Really, really good.
Awesome. All right. So what's up?
Okay. So my husband and I feel really strong about being a family that always tells the truth, but in age-appropriate ways so that we're kind of always exchanging innocence for wisdom.
Love it.
So we spend a lot of time because my family lives all over the world. We talk a lot about my family and my husband's family. So my 7-year-old has a really strong sense of family with relatives he barely ever sees. And he's also learning our history, which is pretty cool. But the issue that we're now facing is my son is asking a lot of questions about my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband and I don't know how to answer his questions about his death in an age-appropriate way because the truth about his death is really heavy that most adults have a really hard time grasping.
Okay.
And for that reason, my siblings have chosen to tell their kids an alternative ending. But that doesn't sit right with my husband and I.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like I might be a little bit further along in my healing process with all of it. Like I'm really well and whole and complete in who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And I want my son to be able to kind of see what can happen on the other side of living through unimaginable circumstances.
Okay.
So a quick picture of my dad. He was a child who grew up during the last World War. His family managed to escape. They were the first family in many months not to be shot, leaving behind half of one extended family. And we've never, ever talked to that side ever again. So that really affected him growing up. And then when I was a kid, he was finally diagnosed with being bipolar. Mm-hmm. He had a psychiatrist. He took medication, but it didn't really help at all. So living under his house was very scary and very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And then when I was 17, he laid out all his personal effects on the bed around dinner time because that's when he knew my mom would call for him. And he went into the backyard and set himself on fire. So my husband and I want to be very careful and mindful about how we choose to share this with my son, who's 7, and he's 7. I'm a big boy. I can know information. I'm really brave, Mom. I'm not afraid to say that he took his own life and he had mental illness. I know how to talk about that stuff. It's the follow-up questions that we feel really lost on how to answer that.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that really quick and then we'll circle back, okay?
Yeah.
The quick of it is when you're telling a 7-year-old something, you're not telling them. You are taking ownership of what you want to talk about. Okay. And you are modeling for them that you have autonomy over the things that you want to think about and talk about, which is a gift. Mm-hmm. It's one of the cornerstones of being mentally well. Mm-hmm. And so instead of saying, you're only 7, you're too young, we'll tell you when you get older, instead of saying that, it was really painful for Mommy, and I'm choosing to not talk about it right now. One day I'll talk about it, but today I'm choosing to not talk about it. And that conversation's over.
Okay.
And that is a gift to your kid.
Yeah.
And kudos to you, high five to you, somersaults and cartwheels to you for not lying to your children. There will be hell to pay for your brothers and sisters' choices. And it will come out in weird ways. But a fundamental piece of their core identity they've chosen to hide, which perpetuates trauma. And when you say they were shot, was there a history like in concentration camps?
They escaped through a border through the woods.
Okay.
And
So the studies were actually done on that community that lived through that mess. That discussed generational trauma that comes from just living and breathing and drinking the water of pure evil, which is what people who survived the Holocaust, the whole mess, had to do. Yeah. And so they're kicking the can down the road. And good for you guys for not. So you're going to balance that with, by the way, the language I would use is daddy, my granddad died by suicide. which is different than he took his own life, right? Dad died by suicide. He's very, very sick. And I don't really want to talk about it anymore. Well, how? What did he do? I don't choose to talk about that right now. One day I will. But it still makes me very sad. And I'm just going to end it right there. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to explain or whatever. And you are teaching your child a powerful lesson there. Circling back, lighting yourself on fire is a middle finger, is it not?
Yeah, it was totally, he was practicing the day before. The neighbor saw small fires in the day. It was a big FU because my siblings and I all put down boundaries with him because he was so toxic and unwell. That I had stopped talking to him 1.5 years before he died, and we lived in the same house because he was just so unhealthy.
Yeah.
And
you're healed from that?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'm totally healed from that.
You're able to talk to me about it, and your heart's not beating faster right now.
Yeah, no, like I want to be able to tell my son the truth because who I am on the other side of this is pretty unusual.
So let me tell you this. Here's the important, and I know I'm asking you to walk a razor's edge here. This is hard, okay?
Yeah.
Don't make your need to tell a burden that your child has to carry.
Absolutely.
Okay. And there's a fine line there between I don't want to tell the truth and he can't know this because he's only 7. And he does not need a picture of a burning man in the backyard.
No.
He doesn't need that in his head. Okay.
No.
One day you can have that hard conversation. That's a much later in life hard conversation.
Yes, okay? I agree. But do you have any guidance for when we have that conversation? Because he's not age appropriate now.
Yeah, exactly. I would kind of thinking about it like a gas pedal. I'm slowly, or maybe depressing the gas pedal or slowly letting the gas off, right? So I'm going to start with Daddy died. My dad died, and I don't choose to talk about it when they're 3 or 4. And maybe 6 or 7 or 8, depending on the wisdom of a child. And every kid's differently. I have different conversations with my son than I do with my daughter. Just do, right? And death for my daughter was pretty abstract late until, she was 5 or 6. My son's beloved dog died when he was 3.5. And we took that dog out into my buddy's ranch and we dug the hole ourselves and we prayed over that dog and we sung to that dog and we talked about it and we buried that dog together. My son had a visceral experience with death when he was 3.5. And what was beautiful was that was a touchstone for us for years. Still is. Remember how. And then we went to the first funeral. But when does Granddad get up? Remember back with Maria, the dog? Granddad's not going to get up because he's passed away. He's dead now. And so we were able to okay, right? So it became a touchstone, became an important part. My daughter, I wasn't going to kill something just to show her dead body, right? And her first experience was a funeral. And that's been hard for her because she's told me, I still see that picture. My son doesn't have that. He didn't have that replay. She does. And so I know I'm going to be a little more sensitive as she gets older. But then maybe 12, 15, 16, somebody in your son's life might die by suicide, right? Or somebody's parent might pass. Then it will be, was it a gun? No, it was pretty violent. It was pretty rough for us to watch. It was hard, really hard. It was very graphic. And again, I'm still not going to say that. I'm thinking 16, 17, 18 before I say they lit themselves on fire, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's going to be mental health. Like, I want to make sure my kids are okay and they are not struggling with anxiety or depression or right? I might also begin to give them a context of their history. Here's some of the things that Granddad experienced, right?
Yeah.
And what here's some stories, or here's a children's book about, or here's some of Grandma's letters or something like that. We're going to create a whole, I don't want to tell the story by itself in isolation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I want to tell the story as a continuing narrative of here's the life, here's the family tree from which you come from.
Yeah.
And you can not deal with the trauma, and you can be so buried underneath it and not get help and not do the XYZ, or mommy put in the work. Mommy worked really, really, really hard. And this is what healing can look like. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like we've done a pretty good job of leaving enough breadcrumbs to get a picture and a sense of a lot of the stuff. It's just we've he's asked, and I said it's complicated, and I'm just not ready to talk about that with you yet. And I won't lie to you. I'll always tell you the truth. But there's just some things that are, I'll tell you when we're ready.
Tell him how it makes you feel, so he knows he's not crazy. Tell him it still makes mommy sad.
Yeah.
Tell him that when mommy was a child. How old were you?
When he died, he was 17. I was 17.
Yeah, tell her that mommy was still a child when it happened. I was still a kid, and it made mommy very scared and very sad, and I don't want to talk about it right now. And the idea that that will give him permission to be sad and to be scared about things, because my mommy was, and look how tough she is now. You see what I'm saying? And so tell him how you feel. Not just, don't make it a math problem, make it a human problem.
Yeah.
Which is, I can just tell you, he's so lucky to have you. Man, what a gift.
Thank you.
It's such a blessing, man. It's awesome. No, dude, you're doing it great. And the idea that you're giving him a picture of what healing looks like, holy, man, it's hard. The road you've been down is hard, hard, hard. And let me tell you this, as he approaches 17, 14, 15, 16, it wouldn't surprise me if your body starts sounding the alarms. Don't be afraid to continue to stay well and to continue to do the things that you need to do to stay well and to get ahead of things. If I'm you, when he turns 13, 14, I'm probably going to go make an appointment with a counselor just to do it. Just check in, get the engine run over, right? Checked over. But I'm going to be about modeling what wellness looks like and healing looks like, because your body's going to set off on you again when it remembers, like, I remember this. Let's get ahead of that thing and continue to paint such a beautiful picture of healing. And man, just so you know this, generationally down the road, people are going to live differently because of the work you're putting in right now. Such a gift.